22. Pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right. The agenda on old business number 4 is gone now. We have postponed that number 4.
Postpone.
Fire department, yeah. Okay. That's postponed. Any additions?
I make a motion to approve the agenda the way it's written with the amendment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The public participation policy applies to all selectmen's meetings. A copy of it is on the back of each agenda posted in the meeting room and on our website. Public input, 3 minutes per person.
It's nice to see you, gentlemen.
Absolutely, it's nice to see you. All right, no appointments, new business, Alton Waterworks, levy pack, well pump replacement. Jeez, I thought she was just coming here.
Yeah.
No, I
Always
Step
wants
right up.
something. Yeah, we do this.
don't look too good, does
See
it?
the hole in that light?
That's not good.
I'll have the paperwork be the
Kinda knew
bearer of the
this was
bad
coming.
news, but,
So,
yeah, go ahead.
that's all right. I was just gonna lead into this, Mr. Chairman. So the water superintendent had contacted me with this information about the pump. This is part, if you remember, we moved forward with the pump cleaning on Levy Park. They got started right away before the end of the year. They discovered the damage once they could pull it out and actually pressure wash and look at it. The reason I'm leading into this is just to let you know that did some research looking at the money and what we had. And you know, should the board decide to move forward with this, we have ARPA money to be able to cover this, because there isn't enough money in the water department's operating budget from 21. So we'd have to hit into 22. This was discovered in 21. It was in December.
The end of the month.
Yeah, at the end of the month. But the ARPA funding, as you recall, the strict stipulations on the ARPA funding, one of the major qualifications is water infrastructure. So this would be one of the qualifying projects to take on under ARPA, which we are limited on what we have available. We had a lot of ideas,
Yeah, but
Right.
but there was only so many things that really actually fit into that narrow parameter.
Wasn't there anything else that we had last month that
took
we
some
already
money out of
took
the
some
ARPA
money
fund
out of opera already?
to replace the money we used for the water mains over there.
Right, that was and that's already been calculated with what
That's
we have
calculated?
left. We have roughly about $127,000 from the first disbursement. There's a second one coming this year.
Okay.
Right.
So we do have money for other projects that are left out there. That's also including the stuff that we've already expended
But-
and approved.
Can we do that where the water customers pay their own budget? Now we're mingling town funds in with that budget.
No, there's no restrictions on the federal level of that, because they're
I
specifically,
realize that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's at the town level.
no, because they're,
That's a separate department from town entities.
Mhm.
I know the selectmen took it over as the heads or whatever,
Agents expend.
commissioners,
Commission to expend.
but that's still a separate department from the town.
but they're allowing those departments individually to
Yeah,
apply for this
Virgil,
funding
I just
themselves.
went through this with our wastewater, and our wastewater is broke apart and it's not with the town.
Separate.
It's separate.
Yeah.
It's by the ratepayers, and we're using the ARPA money to replace our pump stations right now. So and we went through, because we checked that out too, because that was a question that was.
Against the town.
Yeah,
Sure.
yep.
Okay.
So go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to lead in with the
Okay. Well, thank
funding
you.
aspect of that.
Now we'll let you know.
So yeah, you're it'd be a lot more welcome knowing where the funding might come
That helps,
from.
that helps.
Because
yes.
mine are pretty much nuts and bolts, and what you see is what you get. So
Okay.
basically, they pulled the well pump. Once they steam cleaned it, they discovered some issues.
You knew this was coming anyways, because you said it a couple of
Well,
years ago. You said we're
yes.
gonna get into it.
So I think because we were having some issues with air in the system, and we narrowed it down to how we could throttle it down so it wasn't pumping to its capacity. The reason being is there's being air introduced to the system, which can only get in there a certain number of ways. So that is the picture that you see is the hole. So when we throttled that back, we kept that straw effect with the water being above the hole. So we
Can't
would
patch
not
that with epoxy.
get any air to go
Not getting
in.
any air.
Right.
Can't patch that with epoxy.
We
Tape?
could
No duct tape work?
Flex seal.
Flex seal
Flex
can do
seal?
everything.
Seal.
But,
Flex paste.
I will, just to ease your mind, I mean, so the man that's working on the pump from Mar right now was with Lane when he was with Lane in the 90s when they did some work to Levy Park well. And this well was actually, it's estimated, so that was the original well when he worked on it in the 90s. So we're talking about upwards to 50 or 60 years old.
Yeah.
So we definitely got our money's worth out of it.
Yeah.
In my letter, it states that obviously we have the sanitary survey every 3 years, and they've been issuing that, you know, could be a confined space down in Levy Park because the pump is above, the motor is above, but the pump itself goes down into a pit that has an aluminum ladder. And it turns out that obviously they can't take this apart. It's cast. They start using chains to take that apart. It's just gonna,
We've
it's
got
gonna
our
fall
use
apart.
out of it.
Right.
I mean, it's,
Yeah.
wouldn't I use?
So the only
So is
difference.
this gonna bring all that stuff out of the
Right,
pit
so-
up above ground?
So what I put in my recommendation is that it actually, and Ryan and I went back and forth because he thought I had a typo on it, but it actually turns out to retrofit everything in the pit is more expensive than to bring that all up, making it safer
Better
for
off
the
to bring it up.
guys,
Like it said,
eliminating that confined space. The only time they would have to go in there is to make an actual repair to the piping system if something were to break.
now,
So.
we've talked about this before, was, are we gonna fix the electrical down there at the same time?
So everything for the well itself has been done prior because we put that transformer in. The only thing that hasn't been updated is the pole outside and the power going into that building. But everything we're doing here is going to set us up for, say, phase 3 out of phase 10, wherever we choose to go, whether that's get permission to upgrade that pump station. I don't see any forecast for any type of filtration right now because our arsenic samples are doing great. That doesn't say that DES isn't going to throw some sort of curveball at us, that they're going to, you know, bring the limits down for some other mineral that we have to adjust our
Wait
treatment.
until they need money.
Right, well, so they, so this is going to kind of move along with that phase. There'll be nothing that we do now that we're gonna have to rip out to move forward with,
That's what I'm after.
right.
Once and be done with it.
Well, that's what I'm after.
Right.
Because I don't wanna have to get in there and then find out we can do that, fix the electrical system and everything else.
I do, so this was late, and to save ink, I just wanted to pass this along to you. These are the actual blown up pictures, if you guys want to take a look at them.
Did I also read that you thought that you can save the old pump as a backup?
Yes. So not the pump, but the motor. So the
The
pump is
motor itself.
actually, so the motor's the newer, the most recent fix. But the problem with the pump is that the shaft size. So the newer pump is going to call for 1.25 inch shaft. But the motor that we have, I don't see any use in putting an old motor on a new pump
Oh, right.
with a smaller shaft. But what we can do is we can put that, you know, on a shelf, get it refurbished if we need to, you know, get the brushes or anything like that redone. And we can buy a coupling and a clutch and a shaft that will work with the pump if for some reason we had some sort of catastrophic event that we need to
At least it's a
pump
backup.
some water. It won't be, you know, 500 gallons a minute. It might be 150, but we'll still be able to make water just because we only have redundancy for 2 wells. So it's not a complete loss. And a lot of places, you know, believe me, they would have loved to have gotten their hands on our motor.
Don't think you can wire brushes and a little paint?
We can do that, but it will only look pretty. It won't pump water. But, you know, it's not entirely bad news. If you remember when we did Jones Field, it was right around 25,000 for the same thing. But we didn't, I don't believe we got yes, we did get a new motor with that, but you can see the shaft
Oh, yeah.
is so pitted that, I mean.
It is.
And we have
When it
talked
was gonna
about
go.
taking this one out to rebuild it or whatever we had to do anyways. And
Yeah,
it's just
so,
worse than what we thought.
right, so the hole makes sense now. We were chasing air and we tried to do whatever we could to figure out what it was coming from. And this was actually telltale
The
of what
stuff just
happened.
doesn't last forever.
It does a good job, though. I mean,
That
50,
did a
60
great
years
job.
old and still pumping 200 and, I think we're doing about 220 gallons a minute right now with it throttled down. So as long as the well itself is in good shape after the
Pretty good
cleaning,
hole.
Yeah, it is.
but it's
I know.
cast, so it once it starts wearing from the inside, the outside, it
Yeah.
becomes a problem.
Shaft's pretty
Eats
well
right
beat.
through.
The iron there's a lot of iron. The shaft is huge. When that was gonna let go, it's gonna take everything with it. Just leave them there, grab them after. So,
Framing them and hanging them up.
so you're looking at $30,600 to get the above ground discharge, move the well casing up through the first floor and eliminate the confined space. And the quote is there that, explains everything, all the seals, the bearings, the shaft sizes, everything in there.
And this is including the labor to install.
Yeah. So the field services are included.
Field services are
Yeah.
right there, yeah.
And this is separate from the well cleaning that they were hired to do when they pulled the pump, you know what I mean? So that's already been taken care of. So they'll start on the cleaning on Monday. That's already scheduled and ready to go. The discharge permit.
Pumps out anyways.
Yeah, so they didn't discover all this until they steam cleaned it, pressure washed it. That you get so much on the outside of that, it looks like it's whole until you spray it and you're like, oh, that's not,
Everything falls off. and
it's
glues
paper
on top.
thin. Yeah. Yep. Not the best news, but hopefully if we get 50 or 60,000, 60 years, 60,000 miles, 60 years out of it
A lot of
again.
work.
What's that?
That pump's done a lot of work.
Mhm.
There's nothing to be discouraged about as far as what it's
No.
done for performance, that's for sure.
Now, how long?
It's 8 to 10 weeks lead time for the parts. So it is going to be down. We're only going to be running Jones
down
Field,
till
which
April.
our discharge permit's good till May,
That-
probably
that'll be
April.
down to Probably March, April.
Yeah. The good thing is the generator's just been serviced at Jones Field. The well's been redone. So knock on wood, everything should be good there.
Jules.
I don't think so.
In case something happens.
Kind of your hands are tied really, because you only got one pump. If that pump goes down, you don't make water.
It kind of makes sense now why, prior to me coming here, it didn't really run that often. So I don't know if, there was something preluding to that I didn't know about, you put the
It's
pieces
slowly
together.
Telling you, I'm had enough.
Yeah. The good thing is that, we still run it Monday through Thursday every week, well, up until now. And then switch over to Jones for the weekends. And it held up all summer long because of the leaks that were fixed and everything. So they both get shared run times and they're keeping the parts that should be moving. So, I don't see any issues if it continues to get exercised like it should.
What's the board's wishes?
Um,
To me, I don't. I think we gotta do it again.
I think it needs to be done.
That pump's 50 years old.
No, I think,
One, two, you ain't fixing that gas pump.
No.
I think it's time to do a replacement.
Make a motion. That's the 30,600.
Yes.
Covers everything.
Yes, unless they find anything in the well cleaning itself. So the well itself is different than the pump and the motor. So I hope so.
Motion that we allow Courtney to take 30,600 out of the APRA fund to replace the levy park pump and move it up to the top of the well house.
I'll second that.
More discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. I'll try to bring good
Thank
news
you.
next time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, Highway Department, winter maintenance, snow and ice removal. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, snow and ice removal.
Aren't we doing highway? We're missing one, Virgil.
Oh, Reed Road.
Reed
Reed
Road
Road.
signage request.
Down on the wrong one. I went to old business.
You were skipping.
Jumping the gun there.
Yeah, yeah,
I went to old business by mistake.
fast, but that's too fast.
I know previously the board has authorized some parking signs to be up on that trailhead area. So I told the
Oh, what part?
resident I would bring this request
Forest,
back.
where the forestry land is, Reed Road, that's the parking
Yes.
area for the back trail of Mount Major.
So he's getting a lot of people turning around in his driveway, going bypass and turning around.
Yeah, they go by the actual trail itself, especially this time of year, believe it or not. It's actually in the wintertime, still having people come up there. And he
Oh,
said they're
yeah.
coming up.
Country skiing across that and everything else up through there.
Right. So he said,
But can we do that where it's a non-town maintained road? And the forestry department is the one that come in and got the okay to put the parking lot and stuff in. Was it?
Conservation.
Yes, Lakes Region Conservation, I think it is. Hampshire Forestry.
Well, the New Hampshire Department of Forest, no,
preservation of
Parks
forest.
and, what is it, Parks and Trails?
Yes,
Manages all of that.
right.
So,
The Trail Bureau.
yeah, Bureau of Trails and Parks. or
They
something.
put the parking lot in and stuff.
I still think,
Well,
I
just
still
don't
think we own the road, so I don't think that's the,
want- They come in and they paid to do all the work on it and to bring it up to a class 5.
yep.
So they could put the parking lot up there for the new trailhead.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering, where it's a non-town maintained road, could we get in trouble for putting the signage up? Or anything else where we don't maintain that road? Because I remember years ago, the town got in trouble for this.
We have to be careful about it,
think that's a
spending town funds
slippery slope.
on a class 6 road, of course. And certainly in this situation here, two pieces to this is that the property owner is making the request and is looking to pay for whatever that sign costs
Right.
and take care of the expense of getting it put up. So,
Oh, so we're not gonna put it up.
yeah, I mean, that would be up to the board. I believe the parking signs were installed by the town. So that would, I told him, I said, I'm not sure. Once again, I'll ask the
You shouldn't
board.
have done that because
Um,
it's forestry land.
No, we went through that previously with the no parking issues that we had since COVID. Remember, we had the ramp up in hiking. It was really causing problems with the residents in town.
And we were able to put, we did a
So
lot of signs.
we did actually clarify, now you mentioned the no parking signs, I remember now, we clarified that issue of it being a non-town maintained road, that we still had the right, legal counsel contended that we still have, because we own the road, we still have the right to govern usage in the manner in which it's done, because
I
they
don't-
were parking on both sides, they were choking that
Choking the
whole
road,
area,
right.
and the homeowner couldn't even get home.
I don't have a problem having
I remember
signs
that
put
very
up
well.
because I know a lot of people are having this trouble, Jesus Valley, and we had trouble all over the place with it.
Yeah, he basically had somewhat made two requests, one being, no public turnaround beyond this point, and then with a little notation on the bottom, trailhead parking, just to put that just before you go from the trailhead area into the next section of Reed Road that goes up towards, it's at least, I'm not sure exactly how many residents there are up in there, but I know there's more than one. And then the other thing that I would recommend is also placing where the pavement stops and the town stops its maintenance to indicate that it's a class 6 road and it's not town maintained, pass at your own risk. I ran into that as well in New Durham when I was there as town administrator. We had a couple class 6 sections that were same type of situation. They were going up into areas which were hiking trails, trailheads, those types of things there. And there was going to be maintained by the property owners up there and also the trying to think of the name of the group there, but that bought the large tract of land there in New Durham, but they're taking care of all the maintenance and everything, but we wanted it to be clear that it's not the town that's doing that maintenance. It's the folks that own the land there. So, somebody, could get up in there and get stuck in the mud, or they could get stuck in the snow and think that it's a town. And we want to make sure that they're aware of that. The FedEx driver that goes up there and those types of things, that they understand it's not a town maintained portion of the road.
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with it. I don't see us getting in trouble. I really don't. You know how many homes, is he the last one? Or are there homes beyond him?
It's beyond the parking lot. We gave the guy permission to
Right?
do the road up to his driveway up top there.
Okay,
He came in front of us.
right.
Did the portion from where they stopped at the parking lot up to his camp, just about.
It's there year round.
Mhm.
So he's the next resident from what I understand, after that parking lot. I believe there's at least one other, and I'll have to look back.
Two others?
Two others? That's what I was asking. How many more were after
At the
him?
very
Two.
top.
Two.
Have there been complaints by them as well as people turning around in their driveways as well? Or
They haven't personally come to me. I
Well, the
think
other
he
two don't
was,
live there year round.
yeah, I think Mr.
That one is-
Adams was kind of like asked by, he got together with the other folks that were up there, and he said he would come down and speak to me about it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
I don't have an issue.
I know everybody that resides up there complained about the trailhead parking issue when they were parking on
it's
both
too
sides. We addressed the no parking
All
area.
the area,
So
the
they were
parking
all
was
being
too
affected
small.
by that. But the turnaround thing, I think is specific more to the first residents
first.
because it's the newest, widest point. And I know from being up there last year,
The forestry department was
that
supposed
they
to
were
be
all turning around up there.
the forestry department, because we met with them again over it. And they said they were working on fixing that problem up there, but
I don't see an issue here.
no. Make a motion, we allow the name here, allow the man from Reed Road to
John Adams?
John Adams.
John
John
Adams,
Adams, oh, up top,
150 Reed Road.
to put up the no turnaround sign with an arrow for parking and have Mr. Kidman put up the pass at own risk class 6 road, not town maintained.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now we go. Old business, emergency management, standard operating guidelines.
Okay, gentlemen, what you have in front of you is, since the CDC and the state adopted new rules and guidelines, the fire chief, myself, and the interim police chief, which are all the EMD and deputy EMDs, we sat down and went back over the general orders that we had put into effect, and I'm bringing to you new recommendations based on the new CDC guidelines, the reduction in quarantine time period, definitions of exposure, but mainly it has to do with quarantine procedures for different types of exposure or positive tests, and it makes it a little less restrictive and a little bit easier for us to manage, especially in smaller departments where we start having positive cases breaking out. So, and then on
Symptoms sound like the flu.
what's that?
Symptoms sound like just the flu.
Sounds like the back of a NyQuil bottle.
Yes.
So in conjunction with that, you'll see that
Theraflu.
that the travel portion, which was the second, was the first special operations guideline that we put into place, was travel guidelines. The recommendation on that one is just to rescind that policy at this point because they've rescinded their policies on travel at the federal and state level as well. So just trying to stay consistent with those with the other regulations, because it's a little tough trying to deal with specific situations when the general public and our employees are being told something different on the news and from the CDC, and then the policies are really out of whack with that. So
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we accept the new SOGs as written.
Second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Just ask if I had to vote on that.
Yeah, well, now we're.
Yeah, because the,
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if it was more informational than to vote on.
No, the way things work right now, just for your information, so we took an official vote when we had the EMT, when the emergency, the natural disaster, or emergency, declaration of emergency was at the state level. That, once that got disbanded, the board took over control of policy making and changes like that. But the appointment as emergency management director allows me to make changes and do things without, well, I'm already appointed to that position. And so is the fire chief and the interim police chief, because they're both deputy EMDs. So the three of us still collectively have some power and authority to act independent in between meetings, because if we have to make a change in those 2 weeks, I'll make the executive decision with their input and then bring it to the board at the earliest convenience. So,
Very good.
Now we'll go to Highway Department. Maintenance, snow and ice removal.
So just to give you the summarized nutshell version of the policy that you have before you, this replicates in a lot of ways the same policy that was already in place from February 14th of 2011, although it's been updated relative to the equipment in which we have, and also the practices, the current practices of how we are tackling winter maintenance. But overall, in a nutshell, it is pretty much the same in its overall side of things. I bring it before the board, for just the purposes of, I think it's a document that really should, it's out there already. It's actually posted within the highway regulations, along with all the other materials that are there as well. And, it gives something for the public so that they understand what is the current practices, what we have for current staffing. What, I say current, I mean, it is fluid and does change from day to day, of course, depending on if somebody's sick or whether or not we have staffing shortages, but it gives you what is currently authorized for staffing for the department, and also the allocation of the types of equipment in which we have, and then also the materials in which we are using to tackle winter and ice relative to de-icing operations. So I have updated that, and also what we are actually using for application rates in our de-icing of roadways. So I have added that in there, and also the practices relative to temperatures and how that affects how we modify our practices as well. So that's in there. Chain of command and how the operation actually runs is currently just the same, other than we changed some titles relative to myself as a public works director, and also talks about the second in command, as it had previously also been in the policy. There is the foreman, just, indicates foreman manager based on the job description that had been previously approved. So it does speak to that as far as the overall winter operations and how they're conducted. Once again, nothing changed going down through as far as the plow routes priorities. Those are still the same relative to taking care of bus routes and emergency routes. Going down through, also mailbox locations, all those things were left as they are, as well as the current practices that you have in place for taking care of the roads which don't receive any winter maintenance, making reference to those as well are in there. It does have in there also, sidewalk snow removal. I did not change that, other than I did update the mileage in that. And basically using the approximate number of 3 miles, best calculation I had today, and trying to measure everything roughly versus on Google Maps and everything was a little over 3 miles now. It's right around, best I could come in was like 3.25 miles of sidewalk that we try to maintain. It does say in here that, it may take, days after the storm, which that's been based on current staffing levels has been occurring, never mind the weather and equipment.
And equipment.
Is-
failure.
I got a question. I'm sorry.
Ice on these sidewalks now. Are we salting it or anything?
Well, we did a little bit of testing today of trying to do some salting. We have to come up with a better device. But we don't have anything motorized at this point to
Right.
be able to do that. I did work on today, actually preparing a memo for the board for consideration to look at alternative equipment. Because I'll be honest with you, Mother Nature has changed her trends.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Brock and I collaborate on the public works
Mhm.
side of things quite often relative to what Mother Nature deals us for cards. And it has not been friendly.
A
over
lot
the
more
last-
rain mixed in with every
Nice.
storm.
Right.
That's crazy.
Last few years been nice.
And,
Well, it's
and right
getting
now,
heavy,
the
heavy,
the
wet
machine that
stuff.
we have is it's a low flow, what we call a low flow hydraulic snow blower on that. And it does not have the ability to blow that type of material.
Clogs
Now,
up.
we've waited post sometimes 24, 48 hours afterwards in hopes that the water goes out of it. But we see what happens when the water goes out of it. It forms an ice base at the
Ice
bottom.
underneath.
We can get some of the material off on the top, but it leaves an ice base, and then we have that, which actually in some ways is more, it makes me more nervous,
Yeah.
that
Well, that's
way.
what I noticed down here because it's,
Well, in this temperature, you can put as much salt on it as you want. It's just going to refreeze.
It does.
You need to
It
put
just-
something a little bit abrasive on it to,
yeah,
It's sand.
not only frozen, tilted,
Right,
which really makes it
Mhm.
miserable for
Mhm.
people.
right. See, we've had to, because of the heavy wet conditions, we've had to put the wing plow up on the
I see it.
sidewalk.
Yeah, I've seen it do it.
and not,
Makes sense.
not to cut, but I do kind of agree with Scott. I think with the way that the sidewalks are and whatnot, I think might be time to start looking at maybe upgrading our sidewalk equipment. That thing's not really,
Second time it's actually
Maybe
broke
this time we
down.
could try what
Or
we-
couldn't, wasn't unable to do it, correct?
right. Well, it's not,
Sidewalk.
that is not really designed to snow blow sidewalks. I mean, it is, but it's low flow. You get 8 inches of wet, heavy snow and that thing's useless.
Well, what's gonna happen
Go
is
park and get a shovel.
it clogs up inside. It only blows so fast, and if you go too fast, it clogs up in the chute, and you gotta stop and try to clear it all up.
Yeah, and you don't have to go out and buy a $200,000 track machine. You could look around and I'm sure there's towns like Manchester that have good ones that you could pick up and not.
But 11 of them down the Beauregard.
Yeah.
Down there that day, and I had mentioned it.
Yep.
Problem is fitting it through some of these sidewalks. Between the pole and stuff, that was the problem we were
It's a
having.
little narrow.
Because
some
they
areas.
had 11 of them down there that had the sander box on the back.
Yep.
A little bit of sand in it as they're plowing.
Yeah, no, that's,
Road.
I,
Yep, no, I
Yeah,
understand.
you have
when I was in
sidewalks.
Tilton, we had more sidewalk than we did road, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that is a real issue. Some of your sidewalks are about 42 inches wide.
Mhm.
Now you have some nice 5-foot wide sidewalks, which, the snow blower really you have to make double the passes in order to accomplish what you need to do with it. And, you're fighting a battle. I have to say, majority 2 miles of your sidewalk is all on state highway.
Mhm.
And the state of New Hampshire uses the most salt in the eastern seaboard, I swear. And, they use a lot of salt and they, all that slush. I mean, if you could have seen it the other day,
Sets right back up.
and I
know.
spent 4 hours in a loader.
I
here
saw
in
it.
In the square up here, moving snow and
Watched it.
trying to clean the sidewalks.
I was trying to use a 52-inch snow blower on my Kubota, and it did all right most of the time, but if
Working
you
hard.
tried to go too fast, it was
Well, you
working
never
hard.
lived there long enough. Everybody's supposed to have a backhoe.
Yeah,
Just go out, push the button, start the backhoe.
well, I did that, and plus I got the plow truck.
Everybody's supposed to have a backhoe up here.
Yeah, I expect that I would really like to. The difficult part that we're all facing right now is being able to access equipment. We've been looking at equipment, and preparatory for future and otherwise. And I'll tell you right now, it's very, very difficult. If in fact you were to, I had a fellow come in today that does the upfit for our equipment and the past two times, the last 2 years actually. And he said that right now, to get cabs and chassis for some of this equipment. Right now, he's getting cab and chassis deliveries for 2023 that would be ordered in 2022 right now. So
I bet.
that's how long it's taken in order to get any type of.
That's not-
Scott, is
that's
this
not
something,
surprising.
is this something that you could put some feelers out and maybe get some of these things, some of these dealers around here to bring some of this stuff you can try out on the sidewalk and see what works and what don't work?
Yeah.
Because it's no cost to the town to have them bring a piece of equipment over here and let us try it.
Yeah.
So let's try something out and see what works.
See what's gonna work for us.
So I,
Yeah.
I think what would be the best thing, and Scott and I had talked about this previously, getting ready for this meeting and stuff, and that's why he said he was preparing some information for the board. It's just good to have the consensus. of the
Yeah.
board
Yeah, oh,
that-
definitely.
No,
And if we're
I
gonna
think
go,
it- I
if
think
we're
it
gonna
should.
go to those lengths, that we're gonna seriously look at,
But we're,
you know, the ability to.
we're responsible for these sidewalks.
Right.
We
And,
can't leave them like we got them now because, and it's nobody's fault. It's just this storm had to. go to ice.
You can do what I
Last
do to the
couple of
guys in
storms,
Union.
and
We
that's
drill
why-
holes in the bottom of a bucket, put salt in it and swing, they walk down and swing the bucket.
It's unbelievable how these,
We just save money. You got 12 guys out there with buckets. You can cover some ground.
Can we call Belknap County?
Yeah,
yeah.
that would work.
That's right.
No, by all
One
means,
thing I disagree
call
with.
some companies and get,
Yeah,
get
I think
some.
that's a
I've
good idea.
already
look at some
reached out.
equipment.
We did do in fair weather. We did bring up a piece of equipment, actually, and tried it up here on the sidewalks itself. It just fits on the sidewalk.
That was the
So
problem.
it's
They kept
40.
going off them.
Yeah, the good part is, in my opinion, is it's actually it's an articulating uniloader. So if in some of those areas, you could what we call crab walk it to a certain extent, be able to cover those areas. So there's 3 different major pinch points as I look at the sidewalks themselves.
See, in some of the newer ones, and I've dealt with this, is some of the new ones get the live suspension. So when 2 tires are off the sidewalk, the other 2 are up, but it still keeps the bucket level because it is designed to have different size sidewalks.
Right.
So, I mean, as long as you're not trying to buy a track skid steer or something to do it, where you're gonna go.
Buy the right piece of equipment.
Yes, yeah, that's it. That's all there is to it.
What is the make of the model of the one that Wolfboro has?
Trackless. probably.
That's a track.
Yeah, they have I think they have both a holder and a
It is.
And a
it's
trackless.
a trackless, whatever they call it, an S
Yeah.
something there. It's a Volvo actually sells them down
Yeah.
there.
But they've got a lot more sidewalks. I mean.
That's what they had
Yeah.
down the Beauregards.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Every fall, they have 8 or 10 of them down there.
But you guys have to prepare yourself because I'm gonna tell you right now, a new one of those is, how much?
70,000. for-
Yes, sir.
Had a one in front of it.
I'm not saying that that's what
Right, your
you need,
used one
but
probably.
Oh,
you
used
for 70,000.
Yeah, you.
I could have bought, they had one online the other day from Dedham, Massachusetts. It looked like it had some service life, there's no doubt, but Pat actually from the fire department sent it to me. So I think you need one of these. But it was that type of, rig.
track with the,
Yeah, it was a track one, but I'm not sold on the
no,
track.
I
one.
mean, neither am I.
The thing is to find like Manchester, somebody that has the lease program with them because they keep revolving them so many, they got so much sidewalks. And somebody like Manchester, a big city like that, every 3 years they upgrade them. And you might be able to get one that's not.
That's why the ones that I looked at down there, I almost bought one for the farm.
Yeah,
We had one years ago that we bought out of Manchester.
right,
That's what Beauregard had all the ones come back.
right. But I can tell you, you don't want to go buy somebody else's headaches either because those things are
No.
very costly to
Buy.
keep going with.
They're
You don't
expensive
wanna
to
buy-
repair
Something that's gonna break down.
Right.
with one of those. But the state of, what you want to call somewhat state of the art, what you
Right.
referred to, Mr. Chair, is it's about 100. I got a price on it already. There's one that had been sitting down there to Chadwick, Bay Ross there, and $172,000 with a
Mhm.
snow blower, plow,
Yep.
and spreader.
And spreader on the back.
Um,
Those got the independent suspension, so those is what you're gonna need here to
Right.
get off the sidewalk. and start
Articulating.
plowing.
Those articulate.
They articulate, but they got independent suspension, like I
It's also
said.
worth spending the money one time and getting your 5, 6, 8 years out of it.
Oh, you get more than that out of one of them.
To keep buying pieces of
Yes.
equipment that aren't working.
Mhm.
Right.
Because we keep doing this and we keep trying out the equipment.
Mhm.
You gotta buy the right tool for the right job.
Well, fortunately, we only have 3 miles, but that's enough.
Oh, it's just gonna get more and more.
We're gonna
Oh.
add, there'll be probably, yeah.
Capital reserve look like?
Even 3 miles, you still gotta keep it so people can
Yeah,
walk.
Still
on it.
gonna, even if it's a
Capital
mile.
reserve
yeah.
would,
But it's
you
still
know,
good.
the highway equipment, could probably support, doing that, making a purchase, but not at 172,000. But you know, I've gotten prices from both, Bobcat for a uniloader skid steer, not skid steer, uniloader, that they have, which is small.
Yeah.
And it has the narrow enough wheelbase that it actually would fit on the sidewalk. It's 47 inches, but once again, understanding that 42, you know, you end up getting into that sketchy area. That's where you end up
Yep.
having to potentially crab walk it.
That's been the problem.
Whacker through Ambrose Equipment, they sell those. City of Concord uses those.
The
as a-
Whacker ones are good.
Yeah, the Whacker ones. That's what we demoed here. We brought it up, drove it on the sidewalk there and, you know, it would go down the sidewalk, no problem. And we could crab walk it, as I call it, because it has a suspension ability to be able to do that. And that has high flow hydraulics on it, has plows, buckets. And the big blower, actually, you can put an extension on the blower. You could blow material in the back end of a truck if you wanted to do that. That's how much of the ability that it has. And it also has a shaker sander in the back. So you can put that right in behind.
Yeah,
you.
it's a sidewalk machine. It's
Yeah.
made to
It's
clean
made,
sidewalks.
it's made for that.
It's set up for all of them. And they do, town of Rollingsford has one where they use the Bobcat, which is basically the same setup. The issue that we had was we weren't able to look at a Bobcat. I mean, other than going down to Rollingsford and looking at theirs. And we may certainly do that because it looks like right now, in order to look at a piece of equipment, the dealers don't have any. So you have to go and, other than, they do have a Whacker, but they don't have these other, the Bobcat. He said it was going to be April or May before you would end up having anything
That's
come
if they're
in.
lucky.
Yeah, so,
It's not surprising.
but those are, you know, that's certainly puts you, those type of items there are between 70 and 90,000 with the attachments.
The whacker? Is that what you're talking
The
about?
Whacker and the Bobcat. Yeah, either one.
Definitely, if you can do more research.
Yeah,
Into
and
it
I
and even
just,
look-
just so the board understands is, you know, we're up against it, you
Mhm.
know, out there trying to fight that battle. I've been
not
real,
easy.
been real lucky. I'll be honest with you. Team's been great. And I say the team is that, you know, Courtney's been good with her crew and herself. Actually, she's helped out an awful lot and with her staff and herself as far as being there to help out. And, you know, we, especially this past storm here, it was pretty
It was a
difficult.
pretty tough storm this last week.
And those guys, you know, you don't realize it until you actually get in that thing and run it. That thing beats the daylights out of you.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it's
With the loader?
because it has no suspension.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Like running a Bobcat all day.
yeah. but
And that
banging
thing-
the Curb. doesn't- yeah.
The problem with that thing too is there's only a certain kind of person that can fit in it, not,
Oh, yeah.
you're not just gonna
Right,
throw me and Kenny aren't gonna go plowing the sidewalks.
No, we shoehorned Jim from the cemetery in there one day and
Yeah, well,
that was quite a sight.
Yeah,
No, I got one-
understood.
I got one thing here that I
Yes.
disagree with. It's a parking ban. I think it should be more. Penalty should be more. $25. Just.
well, isn't that yours anyway?
Just for
That's the board's
something,
anyway.
just for something to think about with that though,
Yeah.
is if the violation is egregious, is not only gonna get a $25 ticket from the town ordinance to the town, they're gonna get towed. So that tow
I
fee
know.
is gonna be
That's
significant.
significant.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right
generally
now,
they go
right now,
together.
an average tow fee is gonna be at least over $150.
And then add
Cash.
25 to that, yes.
What's it gonna cost you to send the police department up there to fight the ticket if they fight it? I mean, that's
Yeah, I mean,
my problem. We have it down the bay. It's a $5 or $10 fine for parking.
Right,
I mean,
it's gotta
it
be,
costs us big money to send the police officer up there when they fight it. I think that the fine should be either $100 or $250. Smarten them right up and say, you want to do it, you gotta pay it. That the taxpayers aren't paying.
Yeah, I understand.
How many,
I
how
understand where you're
cheap.
coming from. I've also sat where he's sat.
many
And
violations have you had?
how many
I
violations?
mean, how many in the last storm, like, for
Oh,
instance?
I think it, you know, we generally end up having a handful. I say a handful being, you know, maybe up to a half a dozen. The PD's been great.
Mhm.
We notify them, either that or we're able to, you know, make notifications and people come out and move them. What happens is some of the places that have some rentals end up having multiple vehicles and they end up utilizing some town
Yep.
spaces there. And the signage is the one thing that has been voiced, and I actually got a message through Messenger on Facebook was that about no signage. You know, they were caught off a little bit off guard when they had the on the door, and there's a fellow in a blue uniform there saying, hey, you got about 10 minutes to get that thing out of the street or we're going to hook it,
Mhm.
you know, and so that I think caught them a little bit off guard. They were unaware that there was a parking ban during that time period.
Well, if you notice during a snowstorm down at the circle, the tow trucks are like vultures down there. Just
Oh, yeah,
waiting.
they are. Yeah, they're all getting gas. Yeah. Yeah. And I was just curious as to how many, you know, is it a growing problem or is it about the same?
No, I
Um,
mean, I
Same
think,
people.
once again, it depends. During the week is not as much as like on a weekend
Yeah.
in that situation. I'll be honest with you, I was plowing down there on Monday in the bay, for an example. Now granted, a lot of ice fishermen, but you know, I had people coming off. I mean, it was snowing 3 inches an hour there.
Oh, yeah.
Felt like I'm trudging in off the bay. I'm surprised he could see me there.
Mhm.
Came and moved his vehicle, which was very helpful. You know, he let me plow a section, then he moved over and
Good.
then he went back out. So, and he was the only one there on that
Yeah.
situation there. It wasn't.
I've seen times where there's a lot in the way.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that, once again, that was always in part of the policy here. I didn't make any changes to that.
Is that something you
way-
want to change?
I don't have a problem with making it more. I mean, if
I
if
just
that's,
think it's too cheap.
it is a little bit cheap. If you want to put it up to 75 to 100.
Well, I put it to 50 and then your second offense 100.
That's fine with me. That's fine. If that's going to help.
I just think that it just, all our parking tickets and stuff are way too cheap for what
Mhm.
we do.
I agree. We're gonna be looking at the parking ordinance. That was a discussion we had earlier this year. That
Yeah.
it's gonna be taken care of. The thing is, we have to have a public hearing and take it all
Yeah.
up, so.
Right. I think you would on this as well, chief.
Yes, because we're gonna make changes to the ordinance. So the good thing about this is if the board is in favor of this right now, we can put these changes in. Well, actually, we'll have the public hearing, but when we change the whole ordinance, we'll add in the stuff that was approved after the last public hearing.
Okay.
Because we changed that language on Bay Hill and the
Yep,
signage
yep.
there. The board might want to also hold a public hearing the same night separate from this for if you're gonna look at that tractor trailer thing on Wolfboro Road. Because that was another thing the board had mentioned needed to be a separate thing.
That was the last one. Yeah, I was wondering when we're going to discuss that again.
Well, I don't have an issue with the policy the way it is, other than if we want to change that, but we'll change it at a different time.
The other thing
that's fine.
I got is right of ways are often 25 feet, but a lot of our right of ways are only wall to wall around here. They don't extend past the stone walls on a lot of the roads. Should that have something in there to, or just leave that alone?
I think I mean, it says often.
Yeah.
And as you know, there's many different
They're all
variations.
different, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think this is just
think it's
trying to
fine.
make general reference so that people don't put obstructions
I'd
in
leave
those
that one.
areas so that you know, in other words, somebody ends up wanting to
Basketball
put
hoops.
put up a bunch of, you know, ornamental trees or bushes, or they end up putting up a small stone wall.
Sticking a
It's trying to
sailboat
get
out
them
by
so
the
they
road.
end to not do those, or fences. I mean, I've
think
had
it's fine.
issues with fences
Or a boat out by the road.
or a
Got
boat.
one of those before.
Yep.
Those move easy enough for the wing.
Movie, easy enough with a bucket. I'm all set with it then.
Yeah, I'm good.
I think it's good.
I'm fine. I make a motion, we accept the winter maintenance policy.
Standing up. Okay.
There's
I'll
standard,
second
I'll stand it off.
Seconded it.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So you want me, Mr. Chairman, you want me to go ahead and schedule that for a public hearing? Probably be after, we'll get through deliberative probably first before we do that, but
Yeah, we gonna fix the parking language.
we can do that too. I can get,
So we're gonna have a public hearing on it. I'd rather fix the parking language so people read it
I don't
right.
think the parking is part of the highway ordinance though.
My recollection, it's separate.
It's separate. It's a parking the ordinance all to itself. So it'll have to be a separate, it's not part of this one ordinance.
I
So.
don't recall
That's
if
why
But we
it's,
can still make the
That's why I'm
changes.
saying, I think it should be in here and in the other odds, they should match.
I already have a draft together for that already. They can, so I can easy enough, bring that in, or if you'd like. The board would probably like to see it first before we go to the
Yeah.
ordinance, to a public
Yes.
hearing, right? Okay.
Chief, do you recall, is that section relative to the snow, that, you know, the winter parking ban, is that also part of the parking ordinance?
I don't think so. I think the winter parking ban stuff is part of that all-inclusive highway ordinance. You know.
I'll go
from
back
that.
and take
I'm pretty sure
another,
it's
take another look at it.
that has
because-
several, well, it has 70 pages, so.
Right.
um,
It may be something to actually, I just out for discussion is it may be something that may be more appropriate. Maybe it's in both locations, but for enforcement aspects, it may be better to also include it
Included in one.
in the parking. And
Yeah.
going to keep fines relatively the same. And then you could call it out as a subsection within the parking.
I started last year on a restructuring of all the town ordinances. I have about 12 of them already redrafted in new formats, cleaner with a table of contents. So that was an order of business of mine to bring to the board. Once we get through budget stuff right now, it's just been so busy, but just to clean up a lot of these, we have so many ordinances from so many variations and formats for the years. It will condense everything and make it also something that we can put online for people to see on our town website, and also create some clarity for the town employees to follow too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. All right, next up, milfoil grant. Senator.
Sign it.
So,
Got our grant.
yeah. Mr. Chairman, what this is this is the, Kelly presented me with the milfoil, milfoil grant
Mhm.
that had come from DES, the approval. The amount is a little different because we actually got more money.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, well, it was nice, but it wasn't something that you guys had originally talked about. That number is
No, but they're-
that number is roughly,
But they-
$10,000 more.
But they're recognizing that we're getting ahead of it finally,
Right.
and hopefully we can stop it by the dam this year before it gets too late.
So really what I need for board action tonight is one to, you can
Accept the
approve the
grant.
grant, accept the grant, and also approve the authority for me to sign on behalf of the board, if you're in agreement with the
I make a
grant.
motion that we accept the Department of Environmental Services grant for $33,595 for milfoil, herbicide treatment and dash. And to allow the town administrator to sign for it.
Second.
Oh, Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, Paul, sorry. Second.
Discussion.
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Getting ready to go to 5. Never seen to finish. It's coming back.
So now, Mr. Chairman, and this is up to the board, the will of the board. So my intention tonight originally was to go through each warrant article and start getting ready for the people that are gonna move and do that. But the fact that we're missing 2 board members tonight, maybe it would be, we have one more meeting before deliberative.
Right.
So if the board is okay with it, I know it's cutting it at close, but right now with only 3 board members, you guys are all gonna be listed as.
Oh, we just put everything on the 2 missing.
There you go. So in the meantime, just 2 things for the board to think about, for the members here. So, and for the benefit of the general public as well. So you guys also have the rationales for each one is on this paperwork too, which you haven't seen yet. So that'll give you time between now and the next meeting to be able
Review them, yeah.
to go over the rationales. There is going to be a change when we get the board here to vote on it. I mean, we could take a vote now, but it's on the operating budget on Article 10. So we're going to make, we have to make 2 changes to the default budget. We had the public hearing on the default budget. There was an issue with the carryover of the captain's position because that was approved in stated mid-year. It wasn't part of the original 2021 budget. So because that position wasn't from the beginning of the year,
Gonna
even
change
though
the
it was in
default.
action, it won't carry over to the
Right.
default. And then that discrepancy I ran by the municipal association too, and their attorneys agreed. Or their recommendation was that you don't have to actually remove the position or get rid of it. We just have to fund it out of a different area of the budget. We'll have to find the money if we go to default. So what that does to the default is it takes the wages out for the captain's position and the benefits out,
Mhm.
totaling, brings our new default number. So it's a 61.
Yep.
Operating
Okay.
budget, all right.
Okay, so our new default is gonna be $8,434,833.
34.
Okay.
And that's something we could vote on. I'm thinking if we're gonna discuss these next meeting, it would probably be better to have a higher number vote count.
Mhm.
Seeing how it's the operating budget, I think a 3-0, they might start questioning why the general public will ask where the
Would you read that amount again, please, just to make sure I
Sure.
got it correctly?
$8,434,833.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and carry those over these warrant articles next meeting, we'll just have to vote on that article and go over each one, any questions you might have about the rationales or something you might want to add. And then we'll go through each warrant article and just establish who's going to move second and speak to it.
Yep.
We'll get ready for deliberative.
Okay.
All right, that's all for those then.
Selectmen's reports. Rob.
I don't have a big report. I'd just like to, in light of that storm we just had, I'd like to just say what a good job our town crew and the Parks and Rec and water for helping out. That was a mess and it was miserable to clean up. They did a great job.
Absolutely. It was a lot of work. That was
It was a lot of work. That was wet, heavy, nasty mess to clean up.
Oh,
For sure. Nothing else at this time.
all right, mine, with conservation. We had a meeting with Cindy Balsius, who's doing total. I can't remember the words now. She's doing maps on all our inventory in town. And they're gonna be an overlay map, so you'll be able to see, anybody will be able to come in town hall and see conservation land.
Yeah.
Your roads. Your, what they consider wetlands in the town. Say you were buying a lot and you weren't sure if it was wet or not, you come into this map and it'll show what wet areas are, what good areas are, the soil types, all by LiDAR.
Is that like a GIS program or something?
But it's all gonna be on the maps.
On the
so you
maps,
can come in and flip the maps over
An
and,
overlay.
yeah, and
Yep.
helping. When we get set up with the GIS, we can move it into that.
So it can move into and have it, yeah.
Right. But it'll have the roads, it'll have everything on
Yep.
it, so anybody can come in and just open the maps and be able to look how much conservation has, how much state forestry has, where the swamps
Where the
are, where
roads
the
are.
wetlands are,
Yep.
the roads, what's town road, what's private road.
That's
I
good.
think it's gonna be a nice inventory of
Yeah.
what we own and where it all is, and
Yeah,
everything, so.
Absolutely.
And it gives us a percentage, like now, conservation's at like 13%, I think it is, or 12%. And it's gonna give you percentages in the keys of what the state forestry owns, what conservation has,
Yep.
what the town owns, how big the town is,
It'll be a good asset to have.
whole boundaries are and stuff, so. Yeah, I think it's well worth the money.
Absolutely.
We've worked that through conservation and into the master plan,
Yep.
so
All right.
that's it for me.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
In regards to committees, if I may, I just wanted to mention something. I'm not sure exactly who is there a selectman's rep to the Parks and Rec Commission, or is that something?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
I haven't been doing a very good job of it because I'm,
That's,
Oh.
I
Burning the
understand there's
candle
a
at
lot,
both ends
there's
with
a
it,
lot
like
going
you're
on.
busy, you know.
yeah, I know.
And the reason I mentioned this, and this is
Do
just.
you have
for
a
the
meet
board.
on Sunday morning? Could you ask them if they could meet Sunday morning, Brock?
Yeah, I can be there Sunday for
So
sure.
on the road.
Yeah, it's right there.
It's just right there.
Just to let you know, I received an email communication from there were a resident from the Alton Youth League. And they're having problems now at this point. There was a meeting with the Conservation Commission. And
I meant with the Conservation
I
Commission.
mean, not, I'm sorry, Parks and Rec Commission.
Oh, okay.
Parks and Rec,
I
I'm
was gonna
sorry.
say, that's-
Because the Alton Youth League is, they're really they're not being able to get the volunteer help that they need to keep things running and keep things going.
Which we knew a few years ago when
Yeah.
everything took the tilt.
And things are going downhill as far as that is concerned. And there was some public minutes that were forwarded to me. And I just wanted to give you the heads up that, the Alton Youth, there was members of the Alton Youth League that are requesting and feel strongly about the fact that the town should take over maintaining, doing some of the maintenance on the ball fields and some other issues. So that recently came up at the last commission meeting.
Well, we
Got
could do
forwarded
that.
the
You
information.
should do that. You tell them to take the money that they collect and give it to the town to take care of it.
So,
Are you on Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Oh, come right up.
okay.
See that?
There we go. I didn't know
Happened to
that.
be- he
Then
happened
that
to
would
be
be
one of the
somebody
ones
that
that
had
helped us out
firsthand
over there.
information based on the conversation that I was in this email communication was given to me from the Parks and Rec director
Okay.
through the request and stuff. And I just wanted to get everybody up to speed because I don't think it's the end of it.
All right,
Yeah,
what's
I'm
up?
Ken Roberts. I am on the Parks and Rec Commission. And one representative from the Alton Youth League came in to see us, one out of the entire board. They've been having very much problems in getting people together to do anything. The new boards didn't have enough volunteers. And I go back 10 years, 12 years ago, there used to be 40 people there that
Right,
were
yeah.
volunteers.
Yeah, I was one of them.
Unfortunately, you don't have those volunteers. And they've been having a hard time getting people in to do things.
I mean, I volunteered the excavator down there, everything.
So
So
the Parks and Rec Commission has given some ideas, like maybe we should start joining Barnstead because there's actually not enough children joining the games because we have a dance studio in town that takes an enormous amount of the kids. We have other things that are going on. People are getting involved in. It's not just the youth league. Unfortunately, there's some people that say, oh, well, the volunteers can't handle it, but the town needs to handle it. If they can't do it with 6, 7 volunteers, I don't know how putting it onto the town that the town's going to handle it. We don't have the staff to do that,
right.
and to tax the staff that we do have to try doing this is very unfortunate. As far as the fields go, we've maintained the fields,
To a great
Mowing.
standard.
mowing, everything, painting, things that get damaged. We fixed them. The highway department has been down there. We've done an enormous amount of work
Enormous
there.
amount, Yep.
After situations that put us in that, we've screened loom down there. We've worked on the fields. We as the town have done an enormous amount there. Unfortunately, we're not the people that went out there and took the weeds out of the diamonds and stuff like that. And I actually got partly involved as the highway agent in people going out there and doing that and doing the landscaping that we did, the walkway and setting the buildings that were purchased through grants, that were given to the Alton Youth League and stuff. And
Well, the town crew went down, did a hell of a job down there fixing everything, straightening it out.
that's right. So there's been an enormous done by the town and we've mentioned that. But again, we were talking to one person and I understand that that person was the chairman and now she has resigned.
I mean, most of us volunteered to build the thing. Went to Tilton,
Agreed.
got the bridge off the river over there and brought it
Yep.
over, cut it, welded it, to put them fields in.
And I think as you've seen in the Parks and Rec Commission knows that, the Parks and Rec director was in here asking for money to put back into Jones's Field.
Yeah.
To help do the dugouts, to get those put up and,
Yep.
So the town really has a lot into this. But to take over these programs, there's no staff that we have. Our thought as the Parks and Rec
Pretty busy
Commission,
as it is.
we don't have that staff and facility with all the other programs that are
Right.
going.
And I agree with that.
Well, I don't know how the board feels. My feeling is if they don't want to step up to the plate, then we let them dissolve the youth league or whatever they want to do.
And that was
They've
mentioned
got
by
to
the Parks
step
and
up
Rec Commission.
to help maintain. I mean, we give them nice fields. And just 2 years ago,
Yeah.
They had to go in and straighten out with the dugouts and
That's right.
the trenches and everything, because it was a nightmare down there. The older generation that walks down through, you couldn't walk down through there. It
Yeah.
was tore up.
The highway crew did an enormous job.
There's a
down
lot of
there.
work
Did
that
a-
was
did
done
a
down there, yeah.
fantastic job.
Yeah.
Now, on the second part of this, it was also mentioned to the Alton Youth League that night from the Parks and Rec Commission, and I'm the one that brought it up, says if they are going to dissolve, because I've been part of something that was nonprofit that did dissolve, to maybe ask the Board of Selectmen if they could talk to our town attorney on the proper way to dissolve a nonprofit organization, because there is some equipment and stuff involved and stuff like that. I mean,
That would be nice to stay with the town and for the kids.
right, there's a couple
'Cause I'm
people that
sure
just
Kelly's
think,
Gonna end up with some type of programs.
yeah, they just think that the town needs to jump up and we're supposed to hire 10 staff and run a youth league program.
That's
But
not the way it's.
That's just not gonna happen.
that thing's been going on, and I think there was a mention about 40 years.
Well, yeah, because we built those fields, because I was one of the ones down there building them, me, Bernie Arsenault,
Oh, yeah.
Lee Campo. Because the kids couldn't play on the school fields because they were too busy.
Yep.
So we built those for the kids. I
Yep.
mean, and we were down there first couple months, all free of charge doing all. And Jonathan Downing's the one that set it all up.
So we tried to just give advice to the individuals, and a few people have taken it rough, and I think that's the contact that you got.
I don't
heard
have a problem.
There was
with
other
talking to the
contact
town.
about it.
I think it should go that way to find
I
out.
mean, to
Right.
make
more
sure they
information
do
on
it
dissolving.
legally.
Agreed, agreed, but you know, it's been derogatory in a way, saying the town doesn't do anything, and I'm afraid the town has done an enormous amount,
Yeah.
you know, as well.
Yes.
Yeah, we have.
Yes.
So, anyway, that's all.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm sure
update.
that's immigrants talking that ain't been here long.
So just so you know, the board, I will put in your reading box a copy of that email with the comment. You would have had it sooner, but my computer kind of died on me this afternoon, so
Take a hammer.
I
to it.
haven't been able to print
They
it
should get
yet.
to see it anyway.
Yeah, no,
Just
exactly.
take a hammer to it, bring it into Josh.
But I will put that in your reading file for you guys. But that's all I had. That's
Next
all I
is
wanted to
town
mention.
administrator report. Are we all done with your reports already?
No, I have just two, I think. So one, you will have a letter that was on the table there from the Board of Selectmen to since I took over as interim town administrator, I've been serving on the Lakes Region Household Hazardous Product Facility Joint Board with Sarah Silk. And, we've been taking that role as the Alton representative. Just for the formality purposes, we need a letter that formally appoints me from the board to that committee as the Alton representative.
As long as you don't add it to my nights of meetings.
No,
Be my
no,
guest.
No, we met this morning, actually. Usually the meetings are the third Wednesday of every month at
Every month.
about 8 o'clock in the morning.
I make a motion to
Absolutely.
let Ryan have the hazardous, Lakes Region Hazardous Product Facility.
Second,
And that the chairman can sign the letter.
yes.
Yep, there you go. All signed.
Actually, sign this one for me.
See.
Oh, wait, I think we gotta call it for a
Finish
vote, though. Yeah.
All right, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
Could be like last night. We had to revote stuff because all they had, I opposed something, and that's all that was on the tape was me opposing. So they knew they voted for something, but they weren't sure what. I says, how can you revote it? Oh, something. So it must be we voted on something.
So the last thing I have for TA report is there was some email communication between my office and a phone call from regarding Stockbridge Corner Road and the public hearing we had. Peter Farrell had called me. He was originally the one that filed the request form in front of the board about overweight trucks and traffic travel through there to cut through.
Did you check back with New Durham too?
I didn't check back, but I was told, I believe from the Parks and Rec director that New Durham is no longer interested in doing
Interested.
anything on
That's
their
what I
end
thought.
of the road. Stockbridge Corner Road. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's what
All right.
that's what I thought.
So, yeah, because I had that conversation with him.
So there ain't much we can do.
So New Durham, has changed. So originally when this came up, they had expressed some interest in possibly posting their end of that road
Mhm.
as well. And they won't, they have since rescinded that interest and do not wish to do that. The problem that leads is that if one end of it's not posted, both on Stockbridge and Valley, you get trucks cutting through, and they
Frankie
get
ain't gonna
stuck in
like
the
his
middle.
driveway.
And that's happened to us before, where you get a delivery truck cutting through from Johnson's over to 28 South, and they get caught halfway through the road on the Alton side. And there's a wait limit, and there's been some enforcement action that had to be sort of, mitigated, because we had to take into consideration the truck. Once they saw the sign on Alton, they had nowhere they could turn around. I did talk to Peter Farrell, and his concerns is that the COVID and a delay and change in personnel played all into this. According to the communication he provided, he was in contact with the former board secretary here on this, and that he hadn't heard anything else, and then it got posted, and to his own admission, he didn't see the postings for the public hearing. So
what's he want us to do? Hold another public hearing?
that's what he's asking. He's asking the board to.
Could hold another public hearing for one person.
He just expressed that there was other people on the road that would be interested in coming. Asked if the board would reconsider.
Well, to me, I don't think there's much we can do when New Durham doesn't really want to do it.
It does pose a big issue in any sort of enforcement action or signage at that point.
Unless we can take part of Frankie Alden's field, turn around there.
Yeah, I can probably speak to that too, but. And while the public works director's here, I just want to see whether or not he's got a different take on that in agreement that if New Durham's not going to post their end, it makes it very difficult to, because we've got two ends. We got both Valley Road and Stockbridge Road coming to the end, and it poses a real big enforcement issue.
Right.
But my conversations with him, I expressed to him that I would bring this to the board and let the board, consider what he has to say and find out which way you want to go in what direction. When I was on, and I'm happy to give him a call back, because when I was on the phone with him originally talking about this, I didn't have the information about New Durham rescinding their interest in it. So that's probably going to be, important for him to know that too. So I will definitely contact him back and make sure he knows
See what he
that.
wants to do from there.
So I'll reach back out and let him know. And if the
He can come into
consensus
the
of the
meeting
board
and
is
speak on
that,
it.
Based on New Durham's lack of participation on their end, and
But I don't know the board's feeling, but my feeling is we shouldn't hold another public hearing on it. But if he wants to come in.
He wants to come here and talk
about
about
an
it.
appointment, we'll get an appointment for 5 or 10 minutes or whatever.
He wants to do that. Then
I don't think there's
Present it
much
to
we
the-
can do
to the board.
unless you can post that whole road.
right. So, okay. So I'll go ahead and that. So that's all I had for TA report. Thank you.
Moving on, approval of minutes, December 13th, 2021, non-pub. Make a motion, we approve the non-pub minutes, being number 3 sealed.
Actually,
We have to seal 1 or 2, do we?
I think we have to seal those two. as
Seal
well.
them all?
Yes, because,
I don't see any names in there, that's why. Well,
it's because because of the subject matter.
okay, all right, I make a motion that we approve December 13th, 2021, non-public session, sealing all 3. Or all 4.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
December 13th, public session. I skipped over another one, Jesus. You're doing a good day. Make a motion to approve the December 13th, 2021 public session minutes.
second.
Now, we don't have to change the default in this, right? We can just approve these minutes.
No, that's on those minutes, there was actually no dollar amount in there.
Okay.
Yep.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. All right, consent agenda. Now, wasn't this on? Was that on?
Oh, that's, there's a memo to that. Yeah, there's a.
I seen that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if it was, so I didn't know if it was part of him coming in.
No, that's.
Oh, yeah, but they ain't this on. So I'll still do the min-max scale. But we haven't gone through the min-max scale yet. And,
Yeah, but no, this particular position is.
oh, okay, all right.
Sorry, I didn't get what you meant by that. Gotcha.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda for January 19th, 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. All right, no discretionary public input. 5 minutes per person on any government or town business. Come on up, let us have it.
You already did.
What are you getting quieter in your old age? Retired? No, don't want to discuss nothing no more? Oh,
Lauren Carr, let the minutes show that Ken has nothing to say. This year, we haven't had much snow, but when we talk about excuse me, the snow and ice removal, I want to remind you that 3 or 4 years ago, at the end of Dudley Road, you could not see.
Yeah.
And that I went down to the
Bankings
Alton
were up,
Bay
yeah.
parking lot and it was absolutely 100% clear. So I don't know, there's an issue with Dudley Road. I don't know whether we ought to have somebody talk to the state and do something, but it's bad. It is bad. You cannot see. The pickup truck, you're up a little higher, but a sedan,
not now, though.
not this year, but when
The
we
road's
get,
dangerous
when
enough
we
without
get
it.
2
It is
feet
dangerous.
of,
It is dangerous.
when we get 2 feet of snow,
That's understandable.
you have to go to the right
Hopefully-
toward Concord and
Hopefully,
turn
Mr.
around.
Kidman's gonna keep his eye on it.
I don't know whether we should get the state to make a place where we can kind of push some more, but
Stoplight,
the what?
stoplight.
Another stop. You from Massachusetts or something?
I'm not getting used to the one we got.
I know, I don't even know why we got the one up there.
No, but I do agree that there's a.
Yeah, no, that
ongoing
road's-
problem with
bad.
snowbank.
That road's dangerous in the summer, let alone when there's a 6-foot snowbank there.
You're not paying attention, boy. They come up on you fast.
Yeah.
Coming out of there.
Maybe they'll fix it in another 10 years. I'm glad to see this year, the default budget. It's like a breath of fresh air, actually, to actually consider to talk to the municipal association about the default budget. I really appreciate it.
Slowly coming in.
Huh?
It's slowly coming in and getting twisted around.
Yes, but all we had to do was talk to municipal association. So I appreciate
See,
that
we do
happening this
listen.
year.
We do listen.
I knew he was gonna do that.
Couple things. Dudley Road, yeah, Lois passed. I don't know if somebody has to get a hold of Lee Hills Grove and actually talk to him about pushing snow, because we used to push it so far back. We were out of the state right away and we were on private property. So Lois used to let us do that. She owned the house right on top of the hill there.
Why'd we stop doing it?
So Lois passed, but I don't know who owns the house. I don't know. Well, if Lee owns it, there shouldn't be a problem. Just make sure we have permission from Lee to push it back.
Push it back.
Because we used to go back like 50 feet in order to push it back right there. So we get that sight distance on the telephone pole. The other thing is, I think that Peter Farrell's issue is, because I got a phone call from Peter Farrell, is that he requested to the town to be notified when the public hearing was, and he was never notified. So that's, I think that was part of what Peter's thing was. He requested that because he's the one that put it together to put it in as a request for posting.
He wasn't notified.
And no one notified him that the public hearing actually happened. And he requested that of the town to do that. So it dropped the ball on this side of things. So that's why I think he's
He was in
interested.
email conversations with Mary.
Yeah.
Before she retired,
I see.
and she
Right.
retired, and they were having one-on-one conversations. She retired it.
Right.
The ball dropped on that, so.
No, we did ask Elizabeth, notified when we had the. She said yes.
Maybe she thought they were and Mary didn't do it.
Mary wasn't here though. All right. Seeing no more, we'll move on to non-public session. Motion to enter into non-public meeting per RSA 91-A:3, 2. Under A, C, E, and I. We're in trouble tonight. Still can't use terrorism yet, huh?
No, I don't have any terrorism threats.
Have a
Can
good
we,
evening.
Mr. Chairman, can we have 5 minutes?